Imagine an empire so vast, its shadow stretched across 3 continents, casting its imposing might over millions. Its fierce armies were feared across distant lands, striking awe and terror into every heart they encountered. Its immense wealth was spoken of in legends, tales of glittering gold and precious jewels echoing through distant markets. But what if the greatest threat to this mighty power wasn't a rival kingdom or an invading force determined to conquer it? What if the true danger was a secret, hidden deep within the gilded, opulent walls of its own palace, held tightly by a single, formidable woman? The very foundations of the empire were quietly threatened. This is the shocking story of Safiye Sultan, a figure shrouded in deep mystery and whispered legends. Many say her ambition was a poison, a dark curse that slowly brought down the most glorious empire the world had ever seen. Can the iron will and ruthless determination of one woman truly bring such widespread ruin and devastation? If you had to choose between absolute all-consuming power and simple, quiet peace, what would you pick for yourself? Tell us your choice and the reasons behind it in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by the hidden tales of history's most powerful figures who secretly changed the world, subscribe and like this video to uncover more secrets and mysteries with us. For centuries, the mighty Ottoman Empire stood tall as an unstoppable giant, a true force of nature in the world. It was a true colossus of power, its reach extending across vast lands and incredibly diverse peoples, from the hot, arid deserts of North Africa to the cold, snow-dusted borders of Central Europe. The very name Ottoman struck fear and awe into the hearts of both its closest friends and its many sworn enemies. Its capital city, Istanbul, glittered like a jewel, a vibrant, bustling center of rich culture, immense wealth, and unstoppable military might. It was a city where East truly met West, a magnificent crossroads of civilizations. Different languages mingled in the busy aromatic markets, and grand mosques with their soaring minarets touched the sky, reaching towards heaven. Istanbul truly felt like the beating heart of the world, a place of unstoppable energy and endless, breathtaking beauty. Yet even within the strongest, most fortified walls, weakness could secretly take root and spread. Inside the grand Topkapi Palace, where the Sultan reigned supreme over millions of subjects, power was not always held by the man on the golden throne, despite his absolute authority. A different kind of influence, subtle yet incredibly deadly, often grew in the most unexpected and quiet places. It was a hidden power that slowly moved behind the scenes, like a phantom, weaving its way into the very fabric of the empire. This invisible force quietly shaped decisions and altered destinies, influencing everything from daily court life to major international policies. This documentary uncovers the shocking tale of Safiye Sultan. She was a woman whose hidden ambition and fierce, unyielding determination completely reshaped the entire Ottoman world, changing its direction forever. Her story is a complex web of survival against all odds, clever, strategic maneuvers, and the raw, relentless pursuit of power. Every single choice she made carried immense weight and lasting, often terrible, consequences for many. She boldly carved her own path, stepping out confidently in a world specifically designed to keep women silent, subservient, and entirely invisible. It was a world that tried to limit their influence to the private sphere, but Safiye dared to shatter those boundaries. Her journey did not begin in luxury or royal comfort within the palace walls. Safiye was born Safiye Bafo, a young, bright girl from the powerful and wealthy city-state of Venice, a world entirely away from the strict, formal Ottoman court. Venice, with its beautiful, winding canals, its magnificent palaces, and its bustling trade ships sailing to distant lands, was a beacon of freedom and enterprise in Europe. Safiye lived a life of relative comfort, surrounded by the vibrant art and culture of her Italian home. She enjoyed the sights and sounds of the lively city. However, her life took a sudden, tragic, and brutal turn, changing everything she knew in an instant. She was captured by ruthless Ottoman raiders during a time of bitter conflict between Venice and the Ottoman Empire. She was brutally ripped from her beloved home, her family, and everything familiar to her. The fear and confusion of that day must have been overwhelming, as her familiar world vanished behind her forever. It was a violent, traumatic end to her innocence and the beginning of a terrifying, uncertain future as a captive. She was then brought across the vast, blue sea to Istanbul, the dazzling heart of the Ottoman Empire, but as a captive, not an honored guest. Her ultimate destination was the Imperial Harem, a place of deep mystery, strict, unbreakable rules, and intense, silent competition. It was a guarded world within a world, a luxurious palace within a palace, where only the empire's most beautiful, intelligent, and potentially powerful women were allowed to live. Life inside the harem was a constant and brutal struggle for survival, a never-ending test of wit, endurance, and cleverness. Physical beauty was certainly a key that could open the first few doors, catching the eye of a powerful prince or the sultan himself. It could earn a woman a special night with the ruler, but it was only the very first step on a long and dangerous road to true power. To truly sue, revive, and thrive in that cutthroat environment, to gain lasting influence and security, a woman needed much more than just a pretty face or a graceful walk. She needed sharp, cunning intelligence, endless, unwavering patience, and a clever plan for every single situation that arose, anticipating every move from her many rivals. Safiye, even as a young, frightened captive, possessed all these essential qualities in abundance and much more. She had a cunning, observant mind that absorbed every detail around her, a calm, composed demeanor that skillfully hid her true thoughts and feelings, and a fierce, unyielding will to not just survive, but to rise far above her challenging circumstances. She would not be merely a victim. Her keen mind and striking, exotic looks quickly drew the attention of Prince Murad. He was the Sultan's eldest son and the direct heir to the mighty Ottoman throne, a man destined for great power. Safiye, with her natural intelligence, understood the delicate, intricate dance of palace politics better than most. She knew that simply being beautiful or a good companion was not enough. She had to be completely irreplaceable in his life. She carefully studied his moods, learning his deepest desires, his quiet preferences, and his secret weaknesses. She listened intently to his worries and offered subtle, thoughtful advice. Slowly, step by step, with calculated, precise moves, she made herself completely indispensable to him, a vital part of his very existence. She became not just a companion, but a trusted listener, a clever advisor, and a constant source of comfort and intellectual stimulation, weaving herself deeply into the fabric of his personal life. Her presence became a necessity, a comfort he could not live without. Her careful planning and shrewd understanding of power dynamics paid off handsomely, far beyond her wildest dreams, securing her future. When Murad finally became Sultan in 1574, Safiye's personal power exploded, reaching new, unprecedented heights. She became his undisputed favorite companion, his most trusted confidant, the one person he relied on most heavily. She held a special, unique place in his heart, above all others in his vast harem. Their bond was deep and powerful, giving her immense, unchallenged influence over the new ruler, who listened to her counsel above all others. Then came her greatest triumph, an event that solidified her position and secured her future for generations. She gave birth to a healthy, strong son, Mehmed. This event was far more than just a personal joy for Safiye. It was her ultimate victory in the brutal, unforgiving, and deeply competitive world of the Ottoman court. It was the moment that truly set her apart from all the other women, ensuring her security. In that time and place, a woman's entire power, her future security, and even her very survival depended completely on her son's success and his future reign. A son, especially a first son, meant stability for the dynasty and a direct, unbreakable link to the imperial line of succession. With Mehmed, Safiye was no longer just a concubine, a temporary pleasure. She was the revered mother of the future sultan. But the luxurious harem, despite its glittering beauty and seemingly tranquil courtyards, was also a dangerous battlefield, constantly filled with silent wars and hidden, poisonous plots. Other women within the sultan's court hated Safiye, burning with intense jealousy over her closeness to Murad and her rapidly rising influence. Each one dreamed of her own son becoming sultan, and Safiye stood firmly in their way, a formidable obstacle. Palace ministers, powerful men who preferred to keep power firmly in their own hands and resented any outside interference, deeply distrusted her and her growing sway over the sultan. They saw her as a foreign element, a woman overstepping her traditional bounds and a direct threat to their long-established control over state affairs. They feared she would undermine their authority and disrupt the delicate balance of power. Even Murad's own powerful mother, the Valide Sultan Nurbanu, saw Safiye as a dangerous and cunning threat to her own authority and influence. Nurbanu knew the subtle, insidious ways power could be stolen and manipulated, having wielded it herself for years as a powerful mother to the previous sultan. The two formidable women engaged in a silent, deadly struggle for control, each trying to outmaneuver the other for ultimate influence over the young sultan, Murad. The air in the harem was thick with unspoken tension, a constant low hum of struggle for dominance, like predators circling. Yet, Safiye proved herself to be astonishingly clever, incredibly resourceful, and remarkably resilient. She managed to outlive all her many rivals, including the formidable and experienced Nurbanu, slowly consolidating her power. Safiye understood deeply that her biggest and most reliable weapon was Murad's profound, unwavering love and deep affection for her, and she used it with masterful skill and precision. She nurtured their bond, making it stronger and more unbreakable with each passing year, ensuring his devotion never wavered. She learned to subtly control his feelings and, through them, influence his most important choices, weaving herself so deeply into the fabric of his rule that he hardly noticed her guiding hand. Her advice became his wisdom, Her desires subtly shaped his policies, and her very presence became his greatest comfort, making her truly indispensable to his emotional and political well-being. Under Safiye's increasingly powerful influence, Sultan Murad III began to slowly withdraw from the difficult and demanding duties of ruling the vast, complex empire. He found more comfort and greater pleasure within the private, secluded confines of the palace, surrounded by luxury, beautiful concubines, and far from the pressing troubles of the world. He indulged in pleasures, neglecting his duties. His days were increasingly spent inside, far from the weighty matters of state and the constant demands of governance, preferring poetry, music, and quiet contemplation. This left the vast empire to slowly weaken and drift without strong, direct leadership, like a ship without a firm hand on the rudder. The once vigilant sultan became increasingly detached from the realities of his domain. While the sultan retreated from his many responsibilities, becoming a shadow ruler, Safiye boldly stepped forward to fill the growing void. She began to rule effectively in his place, becoming the undisputed, unofficial power behind the throne, a phantom empress. Every important decision, every secret message, and every critical appointment now passed through her intelligent and capable hands. This gave her an almost unprecedented level of control over the entire Ottoman state, a power rarely seen in any woman, especially one from the secluded harem. She skillfully managed the affairs of the state, holding court with advisors, meeting secretly with important figures, and dictating policy. All this happened while Murad remained cloistered away, unaware or uncaring of the true extent of her power. She became the true ruler, though her authority was never openly declared. However, with such great and sweeping power came an ever-growing number of enemies who watched her with suspicion, fear, and deep resentment. The Janissaries, the elite and highly respected soldiers of the empire, the very backbone of its military might, watched her influence grow with deep resentment. They felt a woman should not hold such power and saw her as upsetting the traditional, divinely ordained order of the state. Their fierce loyalty was to the Sultan, the male ruler, not to his mother or his favorite, no matter how powerful she became. Religious leaders who believed fiercely in traditional male rule and their strict interpretation of Islamic law also hated her increasing power. They saw it as an unnatural and dangerous shift in the established order of society and governance, a deviation from God's will. For them, a woman ruling was against both sacred tradition and their understanding of divine law, a corruption of the rightful order. Whispers began to spread throughout the bustling, crowded streets of Istanbul, growing louder and more venomous with each passing day. People muttered that Safiye, with her Venetian past and her Christian roots, had somehow cursed the great empire, bringing ill fortune upon it. They secretly suggested that she might even be working for Christian enemies, undermining the state from within its very heart, a chilling thought that terrified many devout Muslims. Whenever bad things struck the empire, such as devastating famines that left people starving in the streets or outbreaks of deadly sickness that swept through the population, the desperate people were quick to blame her. They claimed that her endless greed, her insatiable desire for more wealth and personal influence had brought down God's anger upon the entire Ottoman land, punishing them for allowing a woman to wield such power. The people connected every misfortune directly to her presence and her unconventional rule. Safiye, however, ignored these dangerous rumors and dark whispers that sought to destroy her reputation and influence. She continued to live a life of extreme luxury and unparalleled opulence, completely surrounded by magnificent jewels, shimmering gold, and the richest silks imported from across the world. Her personal chambers in the palace were legendary for their grandeur, filled with priceless art, intricate tapestries, and treasures from every corner of the vast empire. She spared no expense in cultivating an image of immense wealth and power. She even began a unique and truly unheard-of correspondence, exchanging official letters and lavish symbolic gifts with Queen Elizabeth III of England. This was another powerful woman who ruled a great, rising empire in a world still overwhelmingly dominated by men. This diplomatic exchange was a stunning display of her international reach and her bold, revolutionary disregard for traditional harem rules and restrictions. For the very first time in Ottoman history, a woman from the secluded Imperial Harem was openly speaking to foreign rulers, corresponding with another powerful queen from behind her veil. The diplomatic exchange was not only unheard of, but it also raised many serious questions and deep suspicions among the Ottoman court and populace. What was her real plan in building these unusual connections with distant European powers? Was it truly for the empire's good, or solely for her own personal gain and influence? Then, in the year 1595, a deep tremor ran through the entire palace as Sultan Murad III suddenly died, ending his reign. The news sent shockwaves of uncertainty and fear through the empire, from the highest minister to the common farmer in distant provinces. The throne, as was long tradition, passed immediately to their son, Mehmed III. This ushered in a new era and a new, even more dangerous set of challenges for Safiye. Her position was now secure as the mother of the Sultan, the Valide Sultan, but it came with a new kind of immense responsibility and a terrible, bloody price. She had reached the top, but the view was grim. With her son now the reigning Sultan, Safiye achieved the absolute pinnacle of her ambition, the highest office a woman could hold. She officially became the Valide Sultan, the Mother Sultan, effectively the most powerful woman in the entire Ottoman Empire, holding a position of immense authority, respect, and unquestioned influence. But this incredible power came with a horrifying, bloody price, a price that would forever stain her name and cast a long, dark shadow over her legacy and the entire dynasty. A brutal Ottoman tradition, known chillingly as fratricide, demanded that the new sultan eliminate all his brothers and potential rivals to prevent future challenges to his rule and ensure stability. This was done to avoid civil wars and endless succession struggles. In one terrible, unforgettable night, Mehmed ordered the strangling of 19 of his young half-brothers, innocent boys who posed no real threat to his power, to secure his own position on the throne. It was a horrifying act that shocked even the hardened palace officials. The cries and screams from that night of horror echoed throughout the ancient palace walls, haunting its inhabitants and its very foundations forever. It was a chilling massacre, a dark stain on the history of the empire, a night of unimaginable terror and sorrow. Historians still debate Safiye's exact role in this unspeakable act. Did she cruelly encourage her son to commit this massacre, urging him to be ruthless and secure his power without mercy? Or did she desperately beg him to stop the bloodshed, pleading for the lives of the innocent boys, trying to prevent this horrific tradition? No one knows the full true story. The whispers of the past are faint, but her name became undeniably linked to that horror associated with the cries of the dying princes. This terrible event marked the beginning of a chilling legend. It was the legend that Safiye's very spirit brought death and destruction to those who ruled after her, a dark curse that clung to the Ottoman dynasty like a suffocating shroud, never leaving it. It was believed that her touch brought misfortune and an early demise to those she was closest to. As the Valide Sultan, Safiye's control became absolute and far-reaching, extending into every corner of the empire's administration. She managed the empire's vast treasury, holding the purse strings tightly in her intelligent hands, deciding where money would be spent and where it would be saved. Her word was final on all financial matters. She also oversaw all new appointments to important positions, from provincial governors to chief judges, ensuring her loyalists were placed where they could serve her interests. This created a powerful, intricate network of support and influence throughout the entire state. Ministers now needed her explicit permission for everything, from major policy decisions that affected the entire empire to minor bureaucratic actions, cementing her iron grip on power. Nothing happened without her knowledge and her silent, often unwritten approval. She was the unseen hand guiding the empire's ship, while her son, the Sultan, often remained in his private chambers, detached and distant. She carefully balanced her public image with her private accumulation of wealth. She made some popular moves, like funding the construction of beautiful mosques that enriched the city's skyline and setting up charities to help the poor and needy citizens, providing food and shelter. These actions helped to build her public image as a benevolent and devout leader, a woman who cared for her people despite the underlying rumors. She wanted to appear as a pious benefactor, yet at the very same time, she also amassed a truly staggering private fortune, a personal wealth that grew to be bigger than the state treasury itself. Gold and precious jewels reportedly filled her secret rooms within the palace, a testament to her immense personal power, her shrewd financial dealings, and her insatiable desire for riches. She was a master of both public image and private accumulation. Her son Mehmed, who had once been so devoted to her, began to feel increasingly suffocated and trapped by his mother's overwhelming shadow. He watched helplessly as she controlled his daily life, his advisors, his wives, and even who was allowed to speak to him directly. He was the Sultan, the mighty ruler of a vast empire, but he felt utterly powerless in his own court, a prisoner in his own palace, overshadowed by his mother's formidable presence. The Sultan, who commanded an empire that spanned continents, found he had little to no control over his own mother, the Valide Sultan, the woman who had once been his closest ally. The heavy burden of her constant interference and the immense weight of his royal duties took a heavy toll on Mehmed, both physically and mentally. He grew weary, withdrawn, and increasingly sick with worry and frustration, his health declining rapidly. When he died suddenly in 1603, barely a decade after ascending the throne, whispers spread like wildfire through the palace once more. The curse of Safiye had struck again, claiming another royal life, another man closely connected to her power. The sudden death of a relatively young sultan, so soon after his father, only fueled the dark legends surrounding her. People began to openly fear her, wondering who would be next to fall under her dark influence. Her young grandson, Ahmed II, was suddenly thrust onto the throne as the new sultan, a heavy crown for such young shoulders. He was still very young, barely a boy, and he harbored a strong, fierce desire to break free from the overwhelming power of the palace women, especially his grandmother. He understood deeply that this female influence had weakened the empire's strong foundations and brought instability to the state, and he was determined to change it. He respected Safiye as his grandmother, the mother of his father, a figure of familial importance, but he deeply feared her relentless control and the dark shadow she cast over the entire court and his burgeoning reign. He saw the damaging effects of her previous reign and was determined to assert his own authority, to be his own ruler. One of his very first and most significant actions as the new sultan was to decisively remove Safiye from the main Topkapi palace, where she had held such immense sway for so long. It was a clear statement of his intentions. Her personal guards, who had been fiercely loyal to her for decades, serving her every command, were quietly and respectfully sent away to other duties. Her numerous servants, who had attended to her every need and whim, were also moved to different parts of the palace or dismissed entirely, scattering her network of eyes and ears. The woman who had once unofficially ruled the entire Ottoman Empire was now quietly yet firmly sent away to the old palace, a place of historical significance, but of forgotten influence. This was a place of quiet exile, a forgotten corner of the royal grounds, far from the bustling court and the vibrant center of power. It was where other aging and forgotten sultanas lived out their final years in solitude, surrounded only by shadows and the lingering ghosts of their past power and forgotten glory. It was a place designed for silence, for reflection, and for being completely forgotten, far from the intrigues and ambitions of the main, vibrant court. For Safiye, this was more than just a change of residence. It was a profound and crushing exile from the world she had so carefully built and painstakingly controlled. She spent her last years in this solitary setting, still surrounded by the immense riches and treasures she had so shrewdly collected over her lifetime. But now, she was guarded more by the ghosts of her past choices than by loyal soldiers or fawning courtiers. The glittering wealth felt empty and hollow without the accompanying power. She died sometime around 1605, though her exact fate and the precise circumstances of her death remain shrouded in deep mystery, lost to the sands of history. Was it a peaceful passing? A natural end after a long and turbulent life filled with struggle and triumph? A quiet fading away? Or, as many whispered, was she quietly poisoned? A final, secret act of removal by those who feared her enduring influence, even in exile, seeking to sever her power completely. The truth remains unknown, adding another layer to her complex legend. But her curse, whether it was real or simply a legend created by fearful minds seeking to understand the inexplicable, lived on long after her breath left her body. In the years following her death and removal from power, the once mighty Ottoman Empire began a slow, sad, and undeniable decline. A downward spiral that would last for centuries, slowly eroding its strength, prestige, and influence on the global stage. But the sultans who followed became noticeably weaker, often lacking the strong leadership qualities needed to guide such a vast and complex empire through changing times. Bad choices and poor governance spread through the administration like a disease, weakening its core stability and efficiency. The powerful, once united Ottoman state began to slowly break apart from the inside, weakened by internal strife, widespread corruption, and a devastating lack of effective leadership at the top. Many historians today believe that the very seeds of that eventual fall were unknowingly planted during Safiye's influential time. They suggest that her era marked a critical turning point, a period when personal desire and individual ambition became far more important than the sacred duty to the empire and its people. This fundamental shift in values slowly corrupted the very heart of the state, eroding its moral and administrative fiber. Even today, visitors who walk through the ancient, echoing halls of Topkapi Palace sometimes say they feel her powerful presence, a lingering energy from a bygone era, a sense of her indelible spirit. Her portrait, painted in secret during her lifetime, hangs in a quiet room, away from the main tours, as if still guarding its secrets. It shows eyes that seem to follow you, eyes that are cold, calm, and unsettlingly sure, as if they still hold 1,000 untold secrets and unspoken plans forever watching. Safiye Sultan's story stands as a dramatic and chilling reminder of the dangers of ambition without limits and the immense, shaping power one individual can wield even from the shadows. She rose from the crushing humiliation of captivity, a young, captured girl, to become the most powerful woman of her age, wielding more authority than many sultans themselves. It was an astonishing achievement against impossible odds, a testament to her incredible will and strategic genius. Yet, despite her incredible rise, she could not escape the dark shadow she herself had created through her relentless pursuit of power. Her initial rise brought her immense personal glory and unimaginable wealth, making her one of the richest women in history, a queen of riches. But her complex legacy ultimately brought fear, deep distrust, and eventually the legend of a terrible curse that followed her name through the ages, whispered in hushed tones. P.E. Opal called her the curse because every life she touched, her beloved husband Murad, her son Mehmed, and even the vast, glorious empire itself, eventually seemed to fall apart and crumble under the immense weight of her influence. Her name became synonymous with decline and misfortune, a whispered warning in the palace, a tale of caution for future generations. Yet beneath that harsh label of a curse, there lies a more complex and deeply human truth about Safiye. She was not simply evil or a villain in a simple story. She was, first and foremost, an extraordinary survivor in a world designed to crush her. In a society where women were systematically denied freedom, agency, and public power, she found a way to build her own personal throne, one made of cunning, unbreakable will, and relentless determination. She mastered the treacherous art of palace politics within a grand palace that was originally designed to keep her silent and subservient to powerful men. She skillfully outlived all her many enemies, both open and hidden, outsmarting them one by one, carefully navigating the perilous waters of court intrigue. And in doing so, she bent the very course of history to her formidable will, leaving an indelible, unforgettable mark on the Ottoman Empire that would last for centuries. Perhaps her curse was not her fault at all, but rather the heavy, inescapable price of wielding such immense power in a world that was strictly and brutally ruled by men. She broke every traditional barrier, shattering the glass ceiling of her era with sheer force of will and intellect. And the consequences, both for her and for the empire she helped to rule, were profound and far-reaching, reverberating through generations and shaping its destiny. In the end, Safiye Sultan's powerful name still echoes through the long, storied corridors of Ottoman history, a name synonymous with power and controversy. Some remember her as a cruel and manipulative queen, driven by insatiable greed for power and wealth, a figure of darkness. Others see her as an enduring symbol of strength, cunning, and the raw, unyielding will to survive and dominate against impossible odds, a feminist icon of her time. But all who know her story agree on one undeniable thing. No one who ever crossed her path or felt the weight of her influence ever forgot her. She ruled with unseen hands from behind a veil, her face hidden from public view. Yet her profound influence stretched like an invisible web across continents and generations, touching everyone from the highest minister to the lowest peasant. Her incredible rise to unparalleled power marked the empire's golden sunset, a final, brilliant burst of glory and influence before the darkness began to creep in. And her eventual fall from grace, her quiet exile to the old palace, tragically marked the slow and painful beginning of its long, dark night, a decline that would last for centuries, slowly dimming its former brilliance. And so, the woman once known simply as Safiye Sultan, a slave, then a queen, a powerful mother, and ultimately a feared curse, became one of the most haunting and unforgettable figures in all of Ottoman history, forever etched into its tumultuous annals. Her story is a powerful testament to the ambition and cunning of a woman in a man's world, a world she dared to reshape. Her chilling story reminds us that every great empire, no matter how powerful or grand, often harbors its own heart of darkness, its own hidden weakness. And sometimes, unexpectedly, that powerful darkness wears a glittering crown, hidden behind the serene facade of a woman's ambition, waiting to change everything. Would you survive in such a treacherous world of hidden dangers and endless power struggles? Tell me your thoughts, yes or no, in the comments below. Which queen or ruler's darkest secret should we expose next from the pages of history? Drop a name below. This was not just a historical account of a queen. It was a powerful warning from history itself, a profound lesson in the intoxicating allure and terrible price of power. If this shocking story captivated and surprised you, help us reach 1,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button right now. And please tell us in the comments which royal scandal or historical enigma you want us to uncover next.